One other thing you talked about, Tom, and Dave, I want to get your insights around this, the partnership element that we have inside the business, right? Like we partner with sales. You got to partner across the enterprise, right? How have you seen generative AI being that great way of like sales, marketing, maybe HR, operations, finance, all these functional areas coming together? Where have you seen that be successful?
It's with the organizations that are sharing their information or their data. The key piece is if your data is not in the same place, you don't have easy access to it, it's not going to work. And let's be honest, Chris, you and I both, I know, are Indiana grads, which we figured we'd work in at Tom's chagrin. But if you look at what majors are going to be important, like English is right back up there of how do I go and ask the appropriate questions in the right manner to get the answers. So if you talk about right across the organization, you've got to be able to go and address what you're looking for so you get the answers you want back. So my least favorite topic is now becoming, probably one of the more important topics as we move forward of how do I go interact with it and how do I ask the right questions?
Yeah, I mean, part of being a good business partner with finance is understanding exactly the KPIs and what the other areas of the business are working towards, right? What's important to them, et cetera, et cetera. And again, generative AI could be a big part of that evolution to even help them assist to further understand that. So everyone's driving to an aligned plan amongst other things, key KPIs to drive profitability and growth, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and that partnership side of it, when you're able to bring the business in that conversation, right? And you're able to get that diversity of viewpoints and insights, right?
Sure.
I think, Dave, you talked about one of the most important things any business partner has to do, you have to speak the business language, right? Yep. Too many times in functional areas, right? Finance, right? CFOs, we come in, we speak our US GAAP, our IFRS, and the business is over there like, meow, meow, we lose them, right? Sure. And now with a tool like this, you can speak that same language, right? You can get to that commonality where it's just like straight to insights, right? Yep. You're not having to go through all this data, mind it, find the fact, and then you wasted all this time, right?
Which takes weeks, if not months, by the way.
Which takes weeks and months, right? So and
it's irrelevant by the time you find it.
Exactly, you find it and it's not actionable, it's more of an insight, right? You're just like, I just told you something, and you're sitting there like, what am I gonna do with this? How's this gonna have value, right?
Yeah.
Well, then your question why it's wrong.
Yeah.
Or why isn't it accurate? And then you're spending time on the past, not looking at the present to figure out what can I do? What can I plan for? What can I think about now?
Of course.
To get ahead.
Which I think is one of that new role of the CFO, right? I think one of the things, and I talk about this a lot, is there's two different hats CFOs of the future need to have, right? The first one is we need to take off that financial hat. Not saying it's not important, right? No. But we need to put on that feelings officer hat, right? We need to tap into the feelings of the business, feelings of the people. Yep. But more so importantly, we need to be that future officer, right? Yep. We need to be thinking about the future because at the end of the day, right, I may be biased, but there's no functional element inside the organization that has the touch points that finance does.
True.
Everything stops and starts with us.
Totally.
It's going to end at finance in some way.
Yep.
And when we're able to be part of that vision casting, and less about, hey, we said we had a budget of 10 widgets and we did 8 widgets.
Right.
Nobody cares about that.
True.
Right?
Yep.
What are we going to do about it?
Right.
Right? That's where I think generative AI can really have an opportunity.
Point. You're absolutely right. No doubt. Understanding where everyone's head's at, the culture, if everyone's feeling good about where the business is steering, stuff of that nature. Not all CFOs have to embrace that type of power, so to speak, for lack of a better word, but it's right there in front of you. You can, and you could steer the business, the entire business, not just the finance function, into the right direction, and just create a well-versed, highly dynamic team using generative AI for sure. Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
Well, and think of the data that you could have at your fingertips, right?
Yeah,
not only do you have your financial information, but what if you could start getting the sentiment information not only from your employees, but from your consumers or the outside that are doing your customers, to start seeing and understanding if you ask questions, how are things happening and what are the assumptions or what can I go and assume will happen?
Yep.
And I think that's some of the powerful pieces of you don't have to go train it nearly as much as you did in the past, but you can go ask questions and start trying to figure out what are those results, what are the expectations in those what if moments that you can be thinking and not having the time previously to do.
And we're talking about all this incredible insights and data, market data, consumer data, customer data. what do we need to do with it, David, right? We need to create a harmonized layer for it to be insightful and something that can be easily obtainable to actually take action on, because even with all of these great insights, if they're all over the place in Excel workbooks and there's no level of, it's going to become insignificant by the time you mine all the data and get any type of impactful data. So
And it's got to mean the same, right?
It does,
We've talked
absolutely.
about that too, right?
Yep,
If it doesn't mean the same,
then
you can make one assumption on it, I make
Yeah.
another, and Chris makes a third, and look at that, we have 3 opinions that are all probably incorrect.
3 biased
Three
opinions,
biased.
which is what we're trying to avoid, by the way,
Right,
for the
right.
most part.